Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I am a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on June 3rd, 2021 at approximately 10:09 p.m. PST. It's been a long day to say the least, hence why it took me this long to get back here. However, we have got a few things organized, which is a nice change. The reality is, from everything I've seen, if you're not content with the way your world is, that's where we start changing it. Right where you are right now. Because the sad truth of it is, no matter where you are on this planet, no matter who you are, you're all starting life right this moment at this specific point in time. Doesn't matter how you got here. Yes, that provides you with all sorts of memories, all sorts of motivations as to why you're doing things the way you are. But it does not dictate how your future has to go. Okay, now I'm hearing more and more reports from people that the religious and the spiritual guides that are out there are going down very complicated paths that many people are veering away from. I hear it from all sorts of sources that the groups that were gathering, that were gathering in fellowship, in friendship, in community, are collapsing. Okay, so let's back things up to one spot. We'll start with the home. Okay, start with your home. Never mind the rest of society for just a moment. Take a look at your house. Are you communicating with the people under your roof? That's where we start. That's the epicenter of change. Well, technically the epicenter is right here, in yourself. Are you communicating reasonably with you? Do you have any idea about the way your life is as to whether or not you personally like the way your life is going? Okay. Now, the reality is, so many people I talk to, they talk about this idea of you have to know where you're heading in life in order to be successful. That is a massive fallacy from what I've seen. I mean, certainly it does help to have an idea of which direction you're going, but the real critical factor in getting ahead is figuring out where you're standing and find out what you're not content with. When you're not content with something, start making changes to it. It doesn't matter what you change it to, because the reality is, if you change it to something you're not content with, you can always change it again. You cannot undo the concept that you've already changed it, that it was what it was. My apologies. This is one of the drawbacks of not getting things organized in time. Okay. This is why I do my best to get started on these videos first thing in the morning, so that I'm not actually tired by the time I get to this point. But take a look at the way your world is. Figure out if you're content with everything. Now, as you can tell by that sweater hanging behind me, I am a professional procrastinator. I have been known to take days to get things done that I know require getting done, but on the flip side of that, when it comes to the books that I'm writing, I've been racking off 15 to 20 pages a day as compared to the 5 a week that I was planning on. So, it seems to me that I'm filling my time up rather heavily. But again, it boils down to, in your case, are you happy with where your life is? Are you content with the path that you're on, with the schedule you're following? When you eliminate the negative things in your life, the stuff you're not content with, all you will be left with is what you are content with. That, in and of itself, will make it easier for you to cope with what's going on in the world at large. Now, I have successfully isolated myself for the most part from the news. I don't watch the news itself. I read very little on Facebook, on media, on Twitter and that sort of thing, except I do check the messages coming directly to me. So if you have questions, if you've got any comments that you'd like to share with me, absolutely look at the list of contact points below this video and drop me a line. There's all kinds of them there, and I do keep an eye on those. Now, with that in mind, give us a thumbs up on the video, subscribe to our channel, so that we can get the message out to people around the world. Not just the ones with video, also the ones away from technology itself. Because as we know, all of our life is not spent on the video. Okay, get out and about and talk to the different people that are out there. Okay, even if you're talking to them from across the street, or you're sitting in the car and you're parked for whatever reason and somebody's outside your car, talk to the people, find out who is out there. Get to know the people, because it's going to take everybody's help. It's going to take everybody's effort on this planet to change this world back to the way it was designed. Back to a world where everybody can be content. Where we don't have to be ducking because of people shooting at us. We don't have to be ducking because of bombs being thrown around the place. We don't have to fear everybody because somebody stands on a pulpit or at the front of a crowd of people going, fear this, fear that. You will always be stuck in this bad loop. Okay. When you're going to a support group that is telling you you are always going to be struggling, where's the hope in that? And I don't mean false hope. Okay. I am living proof that you can be a heavy drinker, a heavy drug user, and you can walk away from it clean. Okay. I'm a firm believer there are two types of alcohol, of addicts. There are addicts of all kinds of different sources, and there are recovered addicts. Meaning, the difference between a recovered addict and a recovering addict is a recovered addict doesn't have that pull anymore. Okay, they haven't replaced it with another substitute. Now, don't get me wrong. The addiction groups that are out there, things like AA, like NA, Alcoholics Anonymous, and Narcotics Anonymous, these are great people that have helped a staggering number of people out there to regain control over their own life. Okay, just like there are many doctors out there that have done some phenomenal work in putting casts on people and giving them crutches to walk around with until the legs heal. But the trick is that once you're using that crutch, learn how to get around it. That's the real challenge. Okay, now I'm an oddball from the standpoint of when I quit drugs and alcohol, I quit them cold. I didn't go to an AA meeting, I didn't go to an NA meeting or anything else. I didn't get any sort of medication for it. And most importantly, I didn't suffer from withdrawals. And that's the one I really am not unhappy I missed. Okay, but this does not mean that you can follow exactly the path that I took. Okay, everybody needs some support somewhere. Okay, and we all go through challenges, and rest assured, I can tell you that, there are other people out there in worse shape than you are. There's people that are better shape than you are. Okay, it's like I am not the best of the best. Do I have skeletons in my closet? Yes. Thankfully, none of them are real. Okay. But I do have in my past that is, I can't do a thing about my past. All I can do is make certain that I continue going forward in a way that I find is personally fulfilling and does not hurt others. Or more to the point, does not intentionally hurt others. I'm pretty certain that if I do things, somebody's going to be upset with it. Okay, and Lord knows, I am not the diplomat that people would like me to be. Okay, I've caused more problems for myself with a lack of diplomacy, as in just saying what was on my mind. I'm surprised some people talk to me. Okay, because I'm not known for being subtle. Okay, and there is very little filtration, it would seem, between my brain and my mouth. But I will tell you this. Whatever your dream is, whatever your goal is, make absolutely certain that you go after it, but remember you still have to take care of the modern world. In other words, You've got bills to pay, you've got things that have to be accommodated, such as there is this funny little thing about needing a roof over your head, if you so desire one, requiring an income, okay, where you can be self-supporting, okay. And the reality behind it is this: as the saying goes, no man is an island unto themselves. This means that everybody requires assistance. So getting back to this other little detail, and I got to pause this for just a second. Take a look at the world that you're living in. Are you content with the way it is? And that probably jumped really badly because I paused the video for a second because I had to and forgot exactly where I was. So hence the jump. Anyway, take a look at where your world is. Are you content with the way that your world is running? Okay. If not, it's time to start making changes. Now, when you're looking at whatever your dream is, whatever goal you have, do not let anybody tell you that you cannot make that happen, that goal is not possible. Okay. You know, people say there are industries to stay out of. Like, I've had a lot of people tell me this. Stay out of writing, stay out of music, stay out of acting. And that, by the way, was a mosquito. I don't require it here. And the odds are I'll have to deal with it soon anyway. But, stay out of these industries because you just can't make money at them. There's an awful pile of millionaires out there that did so by writing, by singing, by acting. The trick is when you're doing that, when you're getting started, keep a stable income open. Okay, and it may just be a mundane job. Okay, there's nothing wrong with stocking shelves in a grocery store to pay the bills so you can attain your dream. There's nothing wrong with working fast food to keep a roof over your head. It may not be your dream goal or your dream job. It may not be something that you desire to do for the rest of your life. But if it puts the food on your table and keeps the roof over your head, it'll certainly make it easier to concentrate on what you would like to do. When you're looking at, now I've talked about this issue of going back to some sort of a church, some sort of a temple, a coven, some sort of a group meeting, whatever it takes to find people of similar mind to you that can help you deal with the rough patches. Everybody on the planet has them, and the fact that they do doesn't matter because it won't make your day any easier. I mean, it's a wonderful thought for somebody to say, well, yeah, I know you're having a terrible time. You've suffered some great losses. But so-and-so down the street lost their entire house. Well, much as that may be the case, it probably doesn't make you feel any better if you just lost your job. Okay? Or if you're dealing with a bully at school. Okay, what somebody else is going through, yes, it is important to realize that other people go through hard times. But it's not, in all fairness, going to do a whole lot for your sense of whether or not things are working well. Now, for me, it's really kind of simple. This is what's called a coffee cup that's real good for me. But the funny part about it is I was always told that coffee was bad for you. Well, my coffee's weak enough, it's not a real big problem, according to nutritionists. But putting it on my left side has helped my coordination with my left arm work extremely well. And I realize it is just a question of repetitive action. Okay, repeating the same movement. If you suffered some sort of an an accident or an illness that's the left part of your body not working right, get it straight up here. Up here is where the healing takes place. It may require assistance. It may require a crutch of some form, medication, therapy, simple psychological coping mechanisms. Okay, these sorts of things may be required. But ultimately, the change has to happen here. You've got to realize, and you've got to take it to your heart, that you are going to be able to beat whatever it is you're fighting with. It's going to take some time to put it back together. But this is why I've got this funny little list here that I keep beside me so that I can actually deal with it. Okay. Now, I was having a problem the other day. Okay. And this funny little thing here. I'm just looking at my cell phone for a second to see if it's still charging. I was running into some problems, because it wasn't charging properly. Well, I took it down to a local company here, and I went in, showed them what the thing was, and the guy goes, "Yeah, I know exactly what the problem is." Solved it just like that. Didn't charge me for it because in his words, it wasn't any real functional effort. It was simply I didn't know what the problem was. He showed me what the problem was. The next time it happens, I won't have to go to a shop. Okay. But with that in mind, I did end up buying something else there. Okay. And like I told him, the fact that he did that he treated me the way he did and dealt with the problem properly, with a smile on his face, is exactly why I ended up buying the other item and why I will go back to that particular shop. If you're running a store yourself or you're working in a store, sometimes the simplest gesture, right, can result in the best sales. Okay. The funny part about it is the customer does not always have to be right. Okay, the customer just needs to feel as though they've been heard. Okay, and if you do it correctly, and it is a learned skill, and rest assured, I'm not the one to teach you diplomacy. Okay, but these are just little things that may be going on in your world that you've just completely overlooked. And again, I've noticed something very important for me. When I get late at night, when I'm doing these videos at the last end of the day, I don't tend to be as focused as what I am if I do them first thing in the morning. This is something I have to make note of to ensure that I actually do things in the right order. If I don't, then I get myself all scrambled and then I don't feel like I did things right. So I appreciate your listening to this video, especially when they come out late at night, because they tend to be a little bit more scattered. Now I know this and I'm the only one that can correct it. Okay. But when you take a look at your home, you start there, and that's where I started this whole conversation today, was you start with your own home. Are you first and foremost connecting with you? Are you content with the way your world is? Are you content with what your world feels like to you? From there, move to the household that you're living in. Are you connecting with the people in your household? Are the bunch of you actually communicating, talking to each other about what you're content with, what you're not content with? Okay, and are you working together to make your home a comfortable place to live for everybody? Now understand, whoever is paying the rent or the mortgage, whatever it is, bottom line, that's where the rules have to be made. But to those people, make absolutely certain that when you're putting the rules in place, that they apply to everyone in the household, regardless of age, regardless of income. The rules have to apply to everybody, or you will have problems. Don't believe me? Look at the way society is. Take a look at the laws that have been passed that some people deal with and other people don't. Okay. If the laws do not apply in your home to everybody, you're going to have conflict. But remember, all freedoms have to come with some sort of effort on the part of the person getting the freedom. Tie this into the rules. If you want freedom to do something, like around my house, it's very simple. Okay, I do have a son, and he's got requests. I mean, he's 16 years old, and when he desires something, he'll ask for it, and I'll go, okay, if you want this, this is what you have to do. Or he'll go, Dad, I'd like this, and here's what I'm willing to do for it. Again, it's a trade-off. He desires one thing, so he comes up with an idea of what he's willing to do in order to get it. We look at that and go, is that a balance point? Is that something that I can work with? Does it fit within the household guidelines to start with? If the answer is yes, it does, you run with it. If it's not, you carry on negotiating. Okay, you figure it out. Bottom line is the person setting the rules is the one that pays the tax and that pays the rent, the one that pays the mortgage. If you're living in a home that you're living in for free, Okay, well, technically for free. If you're living in a home that somebody else is footing the bill for, then your responsibility is to follow the rules and help where you can. Now, as the world inside gets dealt with properly, in your own home gets dealt with, and the negative things get removed, what ends up happening is you find that you're better equipped to deal with the stresses from outside the world, from outside your home. Funny thing is, that will immediately start affecting the people around you, in your neighborhood. You get to know the people in your neighborhood. And that can be as simple as walk out the front door, wave at them, and smile. It doesn't cost anybody. Okay, it doesn't cost anybody anything except a little effort. Okay, and very few people get mad if you smile at them. There are some. There's always exceptions in everything that I've seen. Okay, but you deal with your home, it will expand out and deal with the community, which will expand out to deal with the neighborhood, and out towards the city, etc., etc. When we all work together, when we focus on getting along, on working towards the same goal, when we do that, we can actually take this world and remove the negativity from it. We can remove the wars, we can remove the famine. All of this can be dealt with, but it requires focused effort on everybody's part. It is not a question of looking at the people that have more than you have and go, it's your fault the world's in a mess. In all fairness, and I mentioned this the other day, and I'm going to state it again, and I'm probably going to state it again a number of times. Before the internet came, I kept hearing people tell me the reason the bad news is all over the newspaper and all over the news is because that's what people want. And in my naivety, I looked at it and went, that can't be. 90 to 95% of people have got to be, from what I've seen, they're decent people. You're out there helping each other, being nice to each other, treating people decently. So if that's the case, how could so much negative information in the newspaper, on the news TV, how could any of that be what the people want? And it was very naive on my part, because when the internet came out and all of a sudden Facebook hit, and there was Facebook, there's Twitter, there's LinkedIn, there used to be, what was it called now? I mean, FaceTime is there, but there used to be a group called MySpace. And I think it's out there as well still. I don't know. What I do know is that when the internet came out, that came out well. When the internet came out, 90% of the stuff that's put out there is who shot who ripped somebody off, who embarrassed who, look how poorly this person behaved, let's embarrass that person and show it all over the world. Now, this is stuff being posted by people. People just like you. This is not the major media. Okay, certainly somebody owns the big corporations like Google, but Google is not pasting and posting all of these individual articles. Okay, the general population, people just like you, are posting this negative stuff. And 90% of what I see out there is absolutely regurgitated depression. Now, when I realize that, all of a sudden I'm looking at it going, wait a minute. The major media were saying this is what the people want. And turns out this is what the people apparently want, because this is what people keep spreading. Okay. When I was a kid, I went to church with the idea of finding solace, finding something to be, to focus on of a positive nature. Okay. Now, I was taught that God was a loving individual. It was never uttered to me that God was a vengeful God, that God was a terrible thing. He had a terrible wrath. God was always painted to me as a loving God. Now, because of that, do I still believe in God? Absolutely. But now what I find when I talk to people going to multiple different religious sections, and it's not just the mainstream religions, The New Age are just as bad. And rest assured, the New Age people, they're older than the New Age religions are older than what the mainstreams are. But what I'm finding is so many people are talking about, oh, fear this, fear that, fear something else. God is vengeful, God is vindictive, etc., etc. Vengeance and vindictiveness are human traits. They have nothing to do with a spiritual entity aside from they were created by said spiritual entity to give you the option of being decent or being bad. Your call. Okay. The question is, why are you, if that's the path you're on, why are you choosing that path? Why are you standing there listening to somebody tell you that you have to fear God? That you can take a look at any other religion. God created everything, but every other religion, save the specific one you personally worship, is wrong. I see this time and time again, and it is absolutely appalling. Understand, if God created everything, then God created everything, all of it. Okay, He created everything out there. Now, do not get me wrong, I'm not going down the road of saying, oh, we have to go down this path. What you do have to do is one thing, very important at this point, and it's got to start as soon as possible. Which, as soon as possible in my eyes, means right here, right now. Okay, start taking responsibility for your own actions. That is the whole catch. You start taking responsibility for you. Okay, and you start altering the things that you're not content with, that you feel you're doing ineffectively, or that many people are telling you are being done ineffectively. It may be time to start looking down a different road. But it's up to you to do it. Because nobody else on the planet can be successful for you. Only you can. Now, absolutely, I thoroughly, I really appreciate the fact that you're tuning in and listening to me. Some of you are actually listening to me every day at some point, and I've got to get in the habit of doing this first thing in the morning, because I'll tell you, even I've noticed at night I get scattered. Okay, and I do apologize for that. I've never claimed to be perfect. But with that in mind, I'm going to wrap this up for tonight. And given that it is right now going on 20 to 11, I'm likely to be back here in a few hours, because I only sleep for about 4 hours a night. But until we talk again, which will be tomorrow sometime, take care of yourself and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.